Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday night edition of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, our final week of September, heading into October. Lon Strickler is our guest. We're going to have a great time with the man, the myth, and the cryptid legend all rolled into one. And first, we're going to say hello to each and every one of you. We got Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a bronze medal tonight. And moving on down, we say hello to Mel WD40, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. Thank you, Mel, for lubing us up tonight. Eternity Eternal, attorney at large, Michael Morris. How you doing? Robert Lamoth, nice to see you tonight as we continue on with our roll call. Bar Madison and Neil, thank you for coming on in. Frankie B and Mama Catherine. Mwah, I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful night. And Skip to my Lou, good morning to you. Skip to my Lou will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, Lisa Smith, how are you? Eversore, nice to see you. And where are we here? Jaquetta, thank you for coming on in. Cosmic Joe, thank you for having us into your ears tonight. Mr. Cowley is here. Mr. Cowley will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Operation Shutdown, how are you? Yennefer with a soft J. Kurt M., thank you for joining us tonight. Scrolling on down, we have Jessica McCreary, Undead Jed, and Nelson R. Welcome to SOR Chat. Algaray over on Twitch, where the hell have you been? Finding answers after 200 push-ups, good for you. Good for you. You're jacked for tonight's show. Oob to Joe's Bane, you've got aliens. Yeah. Ozzy, how are you? Rock and Rory, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call. Bombshell Bomber, Cody Eiler, nice to have you both here. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. I'm Hardcore over on X. Thank you for joining us tonight. Jose Sanchez, Walter Kochabinski, thank you for coming on in. Mystic Journeys, a.k.a. The Wizard, how are you tonight? Carol Amario, thanks for coming on in. We are caught up. That's it. We're caught up. Well, what the hell do I do now? I guess I just sit here. In the studio, how are you? Angels Are Life. Hi, Nikki on Twitch. What are you doing watching over there? Let's see here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get into a bunch of cryptids and monsters because from phantomsandmonsters.com, Lon Strickler is here to hang on out with us. And we like it when Lon's here. We do. You know what? He's the kind of guy you would split a brick of brie cheese with. Yeah, you would. You'd totally do that with him. Absolutely. While looking for like zombies and werewolves. Why not? He's into it. Paul Nicholas, how you doing? So we continue on with our roll call over on YouTube. D. Syfy, thanks for coming on in. Reminder, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So do me a favor, throw those horns up. Let's rock. Well, maybe not. Sorry, we're going in like 20 seconds. I miscalculated. Well, that kind of took away the flair for dramatics, didn't it? Son of a gun. Digger Dog, how are you? Beelzebrad, thanks for coming on in. All right, I think this time we go. You know what to do.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a great show tonight. Why? Well, let me tell you, Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is here to make sure we have a great, great show coming at you. Swamp Dweller will kick off hour number 3 with another creepy story. Then the UFO wizard Josh Rutledge returns for the UFO report. Let's get right to it. Lon Strickler is a well-known Fortean researcher, author, and radio host who has dedicated decades to investigating the paranormal. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, Hanover to be exact, near the Gettysburg battlefield, Lon's interest in the unexplained was sparked at an early age and cemented in 1981 after a personal Bigfoot encounter. 2005, he launched phantomsandmonsters.com, a blog that has since become a staple for everybody looking for current, up-to-date information on the stories and encounters people like you and me are having. You can find all of Lon's books on his website as well. Let's bring him on in. Lon Strickler, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my man. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, Dave.
Right on. Right on. It's good to see you, my friend. What have you been up to?
Busy. I got a lot of stuff going on, putting the finishing touches on a book, and just looking into a few things here and there, a lot of local stuff, and doing some local presentations and a few other things. So, yeah, but I'm keeping busy.
Well, that's good. That's good. What's the new book on?
The Glimmerman.
No way.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How do you come up with that?
Huh?
How do you come up with that?
How do I come up with that? Well, first of all, I mean, it's a subject I don't think there's really any there are any books out there about, and it's just sparsely talked about. But myself and the guys over at Expanded Perspectives and I started looking into this phenomena about 8 or 9 years ago, and they started talking about it on their show. And of course, I started talking about it on my show, and the interest has gotten bigger and better. And it's just something that kind of blends in with pop culture, with the whole predator phenomena, with the cloaking and everything. And what people describe, it's very similar to what that is. And people are starting to come forward now. So we collected enough inquiries to do a book, and we decided to put it together, put it out there. And actually, we're getting more and more reports as we go along. So there may be another one in the future, but we'll see how this one goes first.
For people who may not know, or maybe tuning in for the first time ever, trying to figure out what the Glimmerman is, could you give us a description?
It's basically it's a humanoid form where the actual form itself looks like glassine or like a watery, invisible type of shape. Many times they have yellow eyes. Many times they click like you see in the Predator movies. But it's very similar to that cloaking that the alien takes in the movie series. And for whatever reason, it's kind of sparked our interest that we wanted to look into it further. Actually, we have no idea what it is, but the reports are becoming fairly worldwide now. And I've had a few sightings even near me. So, so it's something different. It's known, but there's not a whole lot talked about. And as far as doing a book, we're going to see how the book goes and see how the interest comes out with the book. And we'll see. But that's what it is. It's a phenomena of some type of invisibility that some type of being, unknown being, is using to possibly cloak itself, or it's actually that's the nature of the beast.
No kidding. How tall is this? Describe it to us, if you don't mind.
They're usually normal man size, anywhere from 5 to 6 foot. A lot of the sightings are actually made by hunters who are either many times in their tree stands, and they happen to notice something moving on another branch of another tree. And as they watch it, it starts to move, and they can see the outline of the form, but they can see no features other than maybe the yellow eyes may light up occasionally, but they see the outer edges of this being moving about. And then they watch it. Sometimes it takes off and runs and jumps across the tree limbs and boughs. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, everybody reacts to it differently. But yeah, it's just something very strange. And we've got all types of people that are seeing it. And maybe if we put some light onto it and bring some attention to it, people will start looking into it more to see what this actually is.
When does it seem to appear?
Just out of nowhere. That's just what I've been told. For the most part, people will be doing what they normally do. Say, like I said, a hunter is up in his tree stand up above the ground and notice movement out of the corner of his eye. And look, and it looks like he can see something, but when it moves, then he knows it's something different. Occasionally, somebody will see it on the ground. Very rarely. Most of the time, they're up in trees. I've had people who have looked out their balcony windows or been on the balcony and have seen them in the trees near their homes. Occasionally, somebody will be in a car and going down the road and see something moving in the brush, and this thing will show itself, but they don't really get a good look at it, and they start wondering what it was. So I don't know if they're like a watcher type of creature, or if they are alien. Maybe they are alien. We don't know. Or maybe they are a cryptid creature, possibly an indigenous creature that has found some way of cloaking themselves. A lot of people believe that it may actually be a Bigfoot or a dog man that has found a way to cloak themselves, but I don't know how true that is. But there have been some sightings where it indicate that it may very well be a Bigfoot. Sometimes people have seen it partially in that cloaked form, or in a humanoid glassine or shimmering form, kind of half and half as it's moving in and out. So yeah, we really don't know what it is, and that's what we're trying to find out. So
one of the details that I heard about this, Lon, was that many people believe that this Glimmerman is a cloaking mechanism for Sasquatch.
Yeah, well, that's what people have been trying to tell us. I mean, it could be. I know that Sasquatch do have some aspects to where they can kind of manipulate light occasionally. I don't know if it's because of the hair or the way light reflects off their body, especially if they're in the woods and then going in between shaded and lighted areas. But as far as this mechanism that's used by these glimmer beings, I don't really know. I don't know if it's connected to Bigfoot or not.
Are they seen in all areas, or are they just seen in little clusters?
They're seen mostly in forested and areas that have a lot of brush. Very rarely do they see them out in the open. Now, we have had a few where people have been driving down the highway or down the road, and this thing would cross in front of them. They wouldn't. It looks invisible, basically, but they can see the form, the outside of the form, as it's crossing the road. And in fact, Maine seems to be the one state where most of those sightings of crossing the road are reported. Now, I don't know if it's something to do with the state itself, but we get a lot of reports of weird stuff crossing the road up there. I don't know why it is, but yeah. So we've gotten reports from that as well. But like I said, it's a worldwide phenomenon. We've had it in all continents.
Man, I mean, it makes you wonder the attitude of these things. Are they just showing up out of nowhere, or are they just showing up in places that they normally would? I mean, I look at the story of what's her name? Jan Maccabee.
Well, that's where it started from. Jan Maccabee was basically the first person who talked about it. And that's basically where the original, or where the concept of this thing originated. And yeah, I mean, what she described is very similar to what people are seeing.
So for people who don't know the Jan Maccabee story, do you want me to tell it, or
you go ahead and tell it?
So Jan Maccabee was married to a famous UFO scientist named Bruce Maccabee, who has since passed away, unfortunately. God rest his soul.
Yeah, recently.
And Jan, one day on their property, was hunting before some company came over, because she has been hunting this one bull deer, or buck deer, pardon me, okay, for a while. So she went up in her tree stand, and she started hearing these noises from the trees beside her. And so when she kind of looked over out of her peripheral vision, she saw this Glimmerman type creature jumping through the trees. And in fact, it jumped right to the trees next to her. Now, she wasn't sure if it could see her because she was wearing camouflage, but she was able to take a picture or two of this Glimmerman type creature. Now, the funny part about this Glimmerman incident was just down the road, about 3-4 miles, the high school marching band was on the football field training for or practicing for homecoming. And during that time at practice, the band actually witnessed a UFO above the football field at the exact same moment. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's I think it's more than coincidence. I don't really believe in coincidence for the most part. So I believe there may be a nexus or a connection with that being and whatever they saw in the sky. But yeah, it's a fascinating story. When I first heard about it, I hadn't even looked into any of this. Of course, I had seen the Predator movie, the original, and it did sound like to me. But when she talked about it, I thought, well, maybe it's just another alien being that possibly had been connected to it. But as time went on, occasionally another sighting would be mentioned. I do believe, I mean, I don't know how long ago her sighting was. It's been a while, but that seemed to be where it started at. And this phenomena, and this is another thing we've been looking into. The person who wrote the screenplay for the Predator movie was Hynek's son, Jay Hynek's son. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if it's connected to something that actually had happened. So, you sometimes wonder if some of the phenomena that people talk about and kind of related to pulp culture are really formulated by an event that happened that became part of a screenplay to whatever show. I mean, just like the Jeepers Creepers thing, that creature, that winged creature, the creeper in those films was very similar to what people had referred to the sightings in Chicago. I would say that maybe 20% of these sightings were described to us as the Jeepers Creepers creeper.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe people just relate it to something they know of and that's what they used, or I don't know. I mean, pop culture comes into a lot of what we get as far as reports go, especially with cryptids. So I don't know if there's a relationship to this or not as far as the Glimmerman, but we did make a note of it in the book. About Hynek's son doing the screenplay for that film. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's something his father had been part of a case or whatever it was, but people are seeing it now, and it's increased as time's going on. So I'd say the phenomenon itself is probably no more than a decade or so old. So maybe we're being watched by something somehow.
People who have seen or had encounters with this Glimmerman type creature, what's the scenario of where they would see it or why?
Well, like I said, most of them were hunters up in tree stands. Okay. Just like with Maccabee's sighting. But occasionally I had a sighting near Gettysburg a couple of years ago where the woman had her home was out in the woods. She had a second floor deck that came off the bedroom. And she was in the bedroom one morning cleaning or doing something and saw something moving in the tree outside the window. She went to the window, went out on the deck, and she watched this thing as it was moving through the trees. Most of the sightings by just regular people are because of something they saw outside of a deck window or somewhere up that's tree level. We've had a couple of those like that. So they're usually pretty freaked out by it. But invariably, most of the people refer to it as looking like the cloaked predator creature.
Nobody's having these incidents, say, within their house or maybe their barn or their garage?
Occasionally. Yeah, occasionally they are in a barn or an exterior building, not necessarily in the home itself, but in an exterior building as part of the property. That has happened.
The people who are seeing these, is there any mood changes with them? Depression, anxiety, maybe trauma that's happened recently?
Not necessarily, but many times they kind of dwell on it for a long period of time until they make a report. And they only make the report because of them reading somebody else having an encounter like that. So of course people come forward on it. But like I said before, it's a phenomenon that's not talked about a lot. You don't see it on a lot of on any TV shows. I mean, any of the paranormal shows or anything like that. I think most people will kind of relate to it as being maybe a spirit that tries to manifest or something. But from what we have seen, it just doesn't seem to be like him.
A lot of people have also equated this as a shadow being, part of the shadow being family. Have you found any information regarding that?
No, I don't think it's a shadow being, Hat Man or anything like that, where it's like a shadow form of a being that basically invades a home and causes issues. Those things are pretty dangerous. I mean, I've been involved with a couple of shadow being cases, and particularly up in Canada for whatever reason. And a lot of times the people are deeply affected by it. And it's not an entity that's easy to move on. It's normally associated with dysfunction in a family group or something where there's a lot of negative energy involved that attracts these beings. They kind of feed off of that. But the best way of getting rid of it, like any type of poltergeist situation, is to tamp down on the energy they feed off of, and they usually would just move on to somewhere else. It's not like you can go into some type of session where you can move them to another level or move them out. That just doesn't work for this. So it's an entirely different type of energy. And I haven't seen any association with the Glimmerman at all either.
Do you think the Glimmerman is alien? Do you think it's paranormal? What are you leading to?
I believe it may be a being, an actual corporeal being that has the ability to cloak itself through some type of technology, just like the movie, basically. And it just seems to be like that. We got a lot more to look into with this. But that just seems to be the nexus of these creatures. But then again, we really don't know. We're just guessing at this point.
We got about a minute to go here before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is here with us on Strange Days here. Now, just curious for our listeners, Lon, I mean, if this thing can't be, controlled or seen, and it might be alien, it might be some sort of camouflage. Mm-hmm. Do you think that they're pretty much everywhere? Like they could just end up, you walk out your home, maybe you got a tree in your yard, and there's all of a sudden one of these silly things in there.
I think it's possible. Yeah, I mean, the sightings are very random, so I think this thing could show up or be noticed anywhere, actually.
It's just creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is creepy.
Man alive. I couldn't imagine what it would be like seeing this. I've seen some weird things. I don't know what it would be like to see something like this, though. I mean, oh my goodness. Lon Strickler, hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. phantomsandmonsters.com is Lon's website. You have a sighting, you can report it there. If you just want to read what other people are seeing, Go for it. It's all free for you. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear. Oh, oh man, I feel gross. Flubber Lane, how you doing?
Flubberling.
Chris Jarvis, how you doing? Joshua, nice to see you. Magnus for Magnuson, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Jennifer Richardson Elizalde. Michelle Janssen. She prefers a soft J. Sorry, I'm not very talkative tonight there, Lon.
Okay, no problem. I did mention this before, but I have been getting reports from people who have listened to your shows the past several months.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And I do know one of them came, was it Italy?
Joe said he sent a video over to you.
Okay. We have had a couple images of these things. They're not very discernible, but you do see something that has that glimmer look to it. So it's kind of really hard to tell what it is, but when they describe it to you, what they've seen, it's very similar to what others have seen. So,
All right, we got about 35 seconds, bud.
okay.
Thank you tonight to our lone super chatter, Pam. Greatly appreciate you, Pam. Thank you for the love and support. If you haven't already on our YouTube side, give us a thumbs up, or on X or whatever, give us a heart. We'd appreciate it. You can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. Here we go in 3 seconds. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. He always brings a lovely boatload of creepy, spooky stories for you, and you can find all of Lon's books. He's got a bunch of them. They're all at his website, once again. phantomsandmonsters.com. Lon, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Dave.
What scares you?
Not knowing, basically.
Not knowing what?
Not knowing what is out there. You know, this is something that I've thought about a lot in recent years. You know, when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time in the woods. You know, I used to hike all the time when I was a kid. I used to go hunting a lot. Nothing bothered me at all until I started getting involved with the paranormal. And especially after I had my Bigfoot encounter. And then later having the winged humanoid encounter in '88. I really started to realize that, yeah, there's some things out there we just don't know about. And what I would do in a situation if I had a confrontation, even though I had two of them, I mean, there's something you never forget. But if I had a confrontation, it was something that was just beyond explanation and how I would react to it, or if I would feel danger. I think that's what really bothers me more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, I've been involved with a lot of crazy cases, a lot of really creepy cases, especially with hauntings and, you know, poltergeists and other things and strange things that are just beyond explanation. But it's nothing that has happened to me. You know, for the most part, when I am in the presence of an energy, I can usually figure out what's going on because of my abilities. But if you're out in the woods somewhere and something you confront something that you just don't know what you're really looking at, that kind of sends the hackles going and kind of alerts you. And yeah, that's what kind of frightens me. Even though I don't have a problem going out and look for it, which is strange. And I've told you before, I never want to come across a cryptid canine. Just no way. Even though I'm out there looking for them. I don't mind finding the evidence, but I don't really believe I want to come face to face with something like that.
Let's see here. the fact of not knowing the answers, when you look at everything you have studied over the years,
Mhm.
do you think you're close on anything, or are we still miles away?
I guess it depends on the situation. I'd like to believe that as the technology and the understanding becomes more apparent, that it will lead to answers. Will some of these answers come forth in my lifetime? I don't know. I hope at least one or two of them do. But that's kind of the thing that kind of sticks in my mind. Are we ever going to have any definite answers of some type of phenomena? Or are we going to figure out what a Bigfoot is? Are we going to figure out what a Mothman is? Are we going to figure out what alien beings and UFOs are? We've got theories, and the theories may very well be very close to what is actually going on, but we just don't have any type of proof that that really sticks. And I'm hoping at some point we're going to be able to find that out.
I asked our guest last time we were on the air, Pat Spain. I don't know if you know Pat.
I know Pat.
I asked him, and I'll ask you this question: out of any of the cryptids that are out there, which ones do you think we have the best shot at finding alive and well?
I'd say creatures that seem to have a normal or natural feel to them. I know, when I talked to Pat years ago, we were talking about the Mongolian death worm. That's one subject we talked about. And he thought at the time, because I know he had investigated it, he thought that there was a very good chance that that creature may very well be confirmed at some point. He had talked about others as well, but those creatures that seem like there could be a natural explanation for them. But as far as Bigfoot, maybe. It's so elusive, and we haven't found any real physical evidence that really connects it to it other than possible DNA connections, which, I guess however you interpret it. But just like I've been involved with Mothman, looking into the winged humanoids and Mothman for many, many years. I think the only thing that I find that there could be an explanation for is that it's not of this world. Somehow these things are coming into our plane of existence through some type of mechanism that we just don't fully understand. That's about as close as I've gotten to it.
Pat stated he believed it's going to be some sort of giant sea creature.
Oh, that may very well be too. It's something that's natural in an environment that we know very little about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's possibly true.
See, I have a couple. I think we could see a regeneration of the thylacine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's pretty logical. There's been a lot of videos over the last few number of years that have.
And I mean, in something involving a species that used to be around and it was supposedly extinct, there may well be populations out there. Yeah, thylacine is a good example. Yeah, that's a great example.
And I still think there is, Max Hawthorne tends to believe that there is some sort of super shark out there, not megalodon, but bigger than a great white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's possible.
All right, you have brought some stories with you tonight.
Yeah, these are reports that I received from into my website from people.
Start with this one: Winnebago Owlman This one already sounds awesome. I just find the title, man. All right, I'll read it out for you. In 2010, a late night drive through a small town of Winnebago, Minnesota turned into a surreal encounter with a towering owlman and a sentient green orb that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But as lost hours and impossible pregnancy and UFO contact began to unfold in the following years, the witness was left to wonder, had she seen a messenger from another world or something even stranger? Here's the account. On September 30th, so literally 20 years ago or 15 years ago, right now, in Winnebago, Minnesota, in a quiet town of 1,200 residents, where autumn leaves were beginning their transformation, I was driving home from my evening shift at Parker Oaks Nursing Home when something massive and otherworldly caught my peripheral vision in the shadowy branches of an old tree. Compelled to look, I turned my head, and when I snapped my attention back to the road ahead, there it was. Illuminated in the stark beam of my headlights stood an impossible figure, the Owlman. Towering 5 feet tall, this creature had a hauntingly human-like body crowned with an enormous owl face. What struck me most were its arms, human-like in structure with forearms and biceps, yet covered in feathers and without hands visible at all. They were wings connected directly to these human-like arms and biceps, yet covering in feathers, forming one continuous structure. The feathers were white and the underbelly and brown on top, just like a regular owl, but the underlying arm structure was distinctly human. The feet were unmistakably owl-like, and the body maintained an eerily human quality that made the whole encounter surreal. However, it was the eyes that held me captive, large like an owl's, yet unmistakably human in their intelligence. Their brown depths caught the yellow reflection of my headlights, resembling the mesmerizing eyes of animals that reflect the dark. Not luminous, but mirror bright and utterly hypnotic. I slammed my brakes, coming within 4 feet of this enigmatic being. The moment I hit the brakes, it screeched, a sound that defied explanation, simultaneously avian and human, primal yet conscious, and spread its wings wide in response, those human-like arms extending into magnificent wingspans. The whole scene wasn't frightening, it was profoundly weird, like stepping into a reality that operated by entirely different rules. Then came the moment that changed everything. It simply stared at me with those penetrating, reflective eyes, and I found myself locked in an otherworldly communion, gazing into those ancient depths as time seemed to suspend itself around us. In that electric silence, I felt rather than heard the words, "I see you," resonate through my very soul. I wasn't afraid. Fear couldn't touch this moment. I was frozen in pure wonder, caught in a trance-like state until something shifted, and I became unfrozen, looking away for just a heartbeat. When I turned back, it had vanished, and as if it never existed. Though I glimpsed something impossibly small and swift disappearing into the darkness above, moving with a speed that defied physics. Strangely calm, I continued on to Highway 169, maintaining 55 miles per hour towards home, when a new impossibility emerged. A perfect sphere of green fire, tennis ball size and blazing like a living butane flame, appeared outside my passenger window and began keeping pace with my speeding vehicle with supernatural precision. This ethereal orb danced with fluorescent green flames that flickered and moved like liquid light. The more I became aware of its presence, the more it seemed to respond to me, eventually tapering away and descending towards a distant cow farm as if it knew I was watching. When I finally reached home, my babysitter was furious. I was 2 hours late. Though the drive should have taken 15 minutes at most, I had no memory of where those lost hours had gone. No awareness that time had slipped away like water through my fingers. The next day, I returned to search for burn marks at the cow farm where the green orb had descended. Nothing remained, no trace of its fiery presence, as if it had been nothing more than a beautiful hallucination. But the strangeness was only the beginning. I discovered I was pregnant. Despite my boyfriend being incarcerated, an impossible conception that remains unexplained to this day, followed by an equally mysterious miscarriage where the baby vanished completely without requiring any medical intervention, leaving doctors baffled and unable to provide a rational explanation. Then, a decade later, during another extraordinary UFO encounter, I met a baby who communicated telepathically that it was the child from that night, the hybrid offspring of that impossible pregnancy. Suddenly, some of the puzzle pieces of my life began clicking into place with supernatural precision. This wasn't the malevolent Cornish Owlman of the 1976 legend with glowing red eyes and a sinister presence. This being was entirely different, one of profound intelligence and purpose. It looked at me with a stern recognition, communicating not through words, but through the very essence of sight itself. The gaze penetrating straight into my soul with a message as clear as it was mysterious: I see you. The encounter marked the beginning of my awakening, the first conscious thread in a tapestry of experiences that continues to unfold. The puzzle pieces are still coming together to this day, revealing connections and synchronicities that span years and defy conventional understanding, all stemming from that impossible September night when I looked into the eyes of something beyond our world. Nothing creepy about that there, Lon.
Well, I can kind of relate to it personally, and with accounts that I've heard as well from other experiencers. You know about my story with the year my wife was sick, and I kept seeing owls and referencing owls. Mike Cleland, who has written a book about his owl experiences, possibly being foretelling of alien encounters. I believe there's something to that. I think it's some type of a precursor that they used for people to see that they are in the presence of something otherworldly. I think that's what happened to me, because after my wife had passed away and I stopped seeing these owls, I had my abduction just a few months later. The fact that this woman became pregnant and the child just simply disappeared after it being confirmed that she was pregnant is very similar to a case I had in New Hampshire, where a woman had several pregnancies that went to 3 months after the first trimester, and the baby just disappeared. I have talked to other investigators who have talked about hybrids, humans and alien beings, where they do meet with this being years later during possibly another encounter or possible abduction. There's lost time in this, so that could have very well been an abduction. The green orb could have very well been this being transforming into this orb and keeping pace with her, and probably constantly watching her. So yeah, there's a lot of connections there. So I mean, personally and with other experiences I have talked to in the past.
There's so much going on in this story. There really is. I mean, you got the missing time, you have the owl, which could be an alien in disguise, because like you said, Mike Cleland's books always talk about these aliens in disguise. We hear of, the orb that was following her. I mean, what's that about? And, usually orbs are seen in orange or red or white, but this one is green. I mean, that's a little bit odd. I mean, there's a lot of oddness in this.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And but like I said, there are pieces that fit into different scenarios that I have been a part of and have investigated over the years. And yeah, this would be a beautiful, beautiful account for us for a movie script.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, she has gone through what many people, mostly female, some males, have gone through regarding this subject of alien abduction and hybridization program. What's your thoughts on the hybridization program?
I have questions about it. Why they really do it. I think it's probably part and parcel to their objective of finding and realizing more about us, and maybe something that they used to have until they evolved into what they are now. Because frankly, and I've talked to you about this before, I believe the human species is basically a universal species, because much of what people see as far as what they determine to be alien beings all have a humanoid aspect to them. And I think I do believe that these alien beings that people are seeing and reporting and having contact with, who I've had contact with, are actually evolved humans. And the cycle continues on, and they have the ability now to come back to our time and to possibly find answers. I think they're intrigued by us for a lot of reasons. And I think they're looking for that. And possibly the hybridization of their current state and of modern humans. Maybe they believe that's a ways to a means. I mean, of figuring out why they aren't us anymore, and that we do possess some things that I think that they believe are important, particularly, and this is from experiencers who have talked to me in the past and have been told this, that they are fascinated by our psychic abilities. They are fascinated by our belief system, and they're very fascinated by what we believe happens to us after we pass, that we have a life force that they just don't possess.
The missing time aspect. A lot of people have had this missing time happen. I'm thankful I never have, out of all the weirdness that has happened. I at least not that I know of.
Well, I had it.
Okay, what's that like to experience that?
It's surreal. I mean, when you come back to where you originated from, and you realize you've been gone, in my case, about 5 hours. In other cases, less than that, hers 2 hours. I believe it's a fair assumption that your physical being, even if it's just a bilocation type of thing, that your body stays in one place, but your life force, your being, goes someplace else. I think there's something to that, and I think that they do have the ability to maneuver us around like that. And invariably, these are usually abduction cases. I'm not saying all abduction cases are physical. They may very well be by location. But as time has gone on more and more, and I've had my experience and I've talked to others, I think this is something that we may very well find out more about as time goes on.
Right. Well, you know what? We got about 30 seconds. I just want to know, do you have any recall from yours?
A little. A little. It's been 10 years now. And in fact, in November, it'll be 10 years. And but as time goes on, I recall more bits and pieces of it. I have thought about regression. Honestly, seeing and being involved in regression makes me hesitant to do it because I have seen cases where people, for whatever reason, do start.
Hold that thought, Lon.
Okay.
Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com. Missing time and more when we return on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. I misjudged the clock there, Lon. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
All right, I'm going to put you in the green room and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Be right back, everybody. All right, I am back. Lon, we got about 45 seconds. Miss Tessa Marie, how you doing? Good to see you. Ross Smith, thanks for coming on in. B. Arthur, you're golden, buddy. You are so golden, B. Arthur. Richard Minnick, how are you, buddy? Long time no see. All right, I think we're caught up on everybody. Fast Hemi, thanks for coming on in. Thank you to our two super chatters, Jennifer and Pam. Thank you for the love, everybody. Appreciate you. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Pizagoni. Pizagoni is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Lon Strickler is here from phantomsandmonsters.com. He joins us once a month for a show we call Strange Days. We love having Lon here. Thank you for joining us again, Lon. We were talking missing time and what you felt when it happened to you.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to explain. I mean, you know something happened. You do recollect a little bit of it, more so as time goes on. But eventually you do realize something major happened. You know, when I that day, well, it happened that next day after I came back, I called Butch up that morning and we talked about it. And he really didn't seem like he was surprised because of what I had been going through with the owls and stuff previous to that. I mean, he heard it before. He's heard it from other people as well. So, yeah, he wasn't really shocked by it. I had mentioned Mike Cleland. I had talked to him twice about it. Many of the things that I realized, he had also realized when he had his encounters. And I've talked to people since then who had similar type of encounters as well. So, yeah, it's something that's hard to explain. But look, if it's somebody, if I had never been involved with any type of abductions or not knowing anything about what people had experienced, it'd have been much more profound than it was. But it was profound enough.
Do you think you were abducted when that happened?
Oh, yeah. Physically abducted? Yeah, I believe I was.
And you were gone for like 5 hours.
Yeah, I was gone. I
that
estimated it was about 5 hours.
Was that overnight or was that during the day? Were people waiting for you?
No, I was when I was on the couch in the living room and I fell asleep. My cat was sitting on my lap. And I realized I had these beings show up before. But these 3 tall, you want to call them whites or grays or whatever they were, but they all 3 looked the same, almost to the T, but there were some minor differences. But very thin, very tall. But they had showed up. They were on my right, standing by my chair, looking down at me. And instead of them blinking off and vanishing, I realized I was someplace else. And I estimated the time to be around 1:30 in the morning. And when I got back, it was around a quarter after 6, 20 after 6 in the morning. So it was about 5 hours.
Oh my.
So there were physical differences. Some of my clothes were missing. A shirt, the outer shirt I had on was missing. Never did find that. Yeah, I mean, so I think I was physically taken. You know, you hear about people that have had encounters like that where they believe they have been abducted, had lost time and such. And they'll show up totally naked sometimes. But most times they find their clothes. But no, I didn't find that shirt. I never found that shirt.
So what do you think happened to you during that time?
I don't know. I don't remember being transported. I don't remember anything like that. All I know is I ended up in this room that I believe was part of a craft. These three beings were behind me to my right, standing. And they were showing me a large monitor or TV screen, but it was huge. It was in front of me. And in the background, you could see the stars, the planets, and such. But there were also other things showing up, historical recollections of what I had described before, possible civilizations in the Eastern Mediterranean, particularly Egyptian. They were showing me different scenarios. Why, I don't know. And I'm sure I don't remember everything I saw. I remember some things, but I don't remember everything. I'm quite sure I don't remember everything I saw. And in fact, I had people trying to talk me into actually doing a complete book about this. But I just don't think I have enough to do a book right now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I was definitely at this location physically. And I was communicating with these beings. They weren't talking, but they were communicating with me through my mind. They were speaking perfect English. When I was communicating with them, I was literally verbalizing. I was talking. And they were answering me, so they could either hear me or they could pick it up from me. But I did ask a few questions. I know one thing I did ask them is when they showed me this huge craft that landed in the area around the now where the Nile Delta would be at, but it was further out into the Mediterranean. This huge craft, this huge circular craft, it was miles wide, huge. They gave me the impression that it was a civilization of otherworldly beings that had come and had mingled with the other civilizations on Earth. But when I do particularly remember asking them, was that Atlantis? And I don't know why that came to my head, but I never got an answer. And I can't remember anything else I had asked them. The only thing I remember next is just standing there watching this screen and then ending up back home.
Okay. When you got home,
Mm-hmm.
how did you know you were home? Number one, and number two, were there any marks, scratches, or anything on it for that left physical type evidence?
Nothing that I noticed at that time, though. at one point when I was a child, I had a scoop mark on my belly that just suddenly showed up right near my navel. It was healed, but it was a scoop. In fact, I still have it. I still got the mark. How I realized I was home was that my cat was hissing at me. He was down on the floor hissing at me. So apparently I just popped in somehow. He never hissed at me just out of the blue like that.
Weird. So weird. Before we get to the next story, let's get to a couple audience questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Josh is asking, Lon, do you think that all cryptids worldwide might only be a handful of species that just have cultural and local names?
Well, first of all, I believe most cryptid species, other than possibly some indigenous Bigfoot, are otherworldly beings. I think they have aspects to them to where they can move in and out of either dimensions or between our Earth plane and another dimension or another reality. As time has gone on and I've looked further and further into the whole cryptid phenomena, I believe that for the most part, these beings do not exist on Earth all the time, that they move in and out. My thoughts on that became more apparent as I got involved with the Mothman investigation in Chicago. As time went on, I do believe that the Mothman was a summoned being, in particular, the Point Pleasant Mothman. Be a handful of species that just has cultural local names. I think they're the beings may actually be the same beings that are moving in and out, and different groups of people have different names for them. But I think this phenomenon has been going on for a long, long time.
All right, let's get to another question here. Let's go to in the studio. Do you think 3-Eye Atlas, the potential comet that is making its way here, is looking for this Glimmerman?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of this comet. Some of the aspects of it are very interesting, though. I think NASA is really taking a deep look into this. Now, from a few people I have talked to about it and what they think it is, I think the military's involved with this as well. And I can't go beyond that as far as just hearing that. It just seems there's a lot going on now worldwide, and maybe it's an observation of some type. I don't know, but this thing just showed up. It just passed Mars, or is going to pass Mars. I heard it got hit by a bad sun storm or some type of radiation hit this thing and either slowed it up or changed its direction. There's just a lot of things about it that just don't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't seem to me like what a regular comet is, but some of the indications from what I heard is this: if it is a comet, it's more composed of carbon dioxide as opposed to other elements. So what that's all about, I don't know.
All right, let me go to another one here. Joe is asking, Lon, have you ever heard anything like ghost rats? I keep seeing these dark rat-shaped things running around my house. They're like shadows.
I have heard something similar to that in the past from witnesses, but it's normally associated with shadow beings being seen as well. Now, I had a ghost cat at my last when I was living in Maryland, in my residence in Maryland, that looked dark to me. I mean, it showed up as a dark being. But I did pick up that it was either the energy of a cat that used to live there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I have talked to people who have seen something smaller that when they were going through a shadow being infestation. So it may be connected to that. I'm not saying that you got shadow beings, but that's the only time I've heard of these rat type things being seen.
All right, let's move on to another one here. Let's go to Erica. I saw this predator effect with a ghost once. So perhaps it's just a cloaking mechanism?
It could be. I mean, it could be a manifestation of of an energy, a spirit, or something. I just don't think it is, because it's something fairly new. It makes clicking sounds many times, just like in the movie. It's got the yellow eyes that people had mentioned that is similar to what happened in the movie. It just, what I had picked up from people, it just doesn't seem to me that it was a type of life force energy or something that came from a living being. It seems more alien or non-human to me.
I still don't understand it. I don't. I really don't.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's some sort of alien or cryptid type of hologram, shall we say?
Maybe.
I don't know if the paranormal is using it, but I mean, if people have had those experiences with it, I mean, that's something that I can't refute, because I don't put myself in other people's shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird. Just
it is very weird.
Sir Wolf is asking, these Glimmermen, are they hunting or are they watching?
At this point now, it seems like they're more observing, watching, as opposed to hunting or stalking. I haven't heard of any type of situation where it seemed aggressive. It seemed to be that it didn't want to be seen, and after the person realized that the person had seen it, it moved on. So I don't think it's hunting or stalking. I think they're just watching for whatever reason.
Yeah, I wonder that as well, because what is with that, though, with a lot of these creatures, Lon, as creepy as they may look,
Mm-hmm.
they seem to be, peeping Toms in a way where they're looking through windows, they're looking through closet doors, they're hiding behind trees to stare at you. What is it with this looking thing?
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of that with a lot of different phenomena. Cryptids, crawlers, even ghosts. It seems to be the hallmark of paranormal phenomena for the most part. Are they unsure about approaching us? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Are they working for some other entity or some type of overlord or something as spies, or I don't know. But yeah, that watching, that investigating, observing things seems to be a hallmark of a lot of this phenomena.
Yeah, I don't really understand what is truly going on there. I find it completely weird, and maybe that's part of the creep factor. I don't know, but it just seems awfully weird.
Yeah, it is.
Is it maybe because they know it makes us uncomfortable?
Maybe. I think sometimes certain beings relish on that. I know shadow being do. Of course, malevolent entities seem to relish shocking us, surprising us, making us feel bad. For the most part, they feed off of that. They become stronger when that happens. Um, so yeah, I think in some situations they kind of like it. They like to see the reaction.
All right. Well, let's go to another question. This one's from Josh again. In Celtic lore, the glamour is the Fae's ability to veil themselves or their dwellings. Sources sometimes describe it as kind of a wavering air or glimmering haze, like heat rising from the road. Are these the Fae?
It could be Fae, but it's not normally what we get when the entity is possibly a Fae or an elemental or something to that effect. Many times in those situations, they kind of morph into different shapes and just suddenly vanish. That just doesn't seem to be the aspect of these Glimmerman creatures. And I call them creatures because I don't think they're human. It's a good question because I've never really thought about it with faith, but just thinking about it now, I don't think it's associated with faith. But then again, people have described fae beings in all different forms and such. Maybe there's some connection to that.
Sounds like there could be. That's for sure. I mean, you look at some of these, especially European societies, whether it's Ireland or England or Iceland or wherever, where they are actually, taking time to pay respect to a lot of these creatures. Like they will not allow you in certain forests because leprechauns have been seen there. In Iceland, they've moved roads out of the way because they figure there is a fairy den or a gnome den around that area.
Well, if we start getting Glimmerman dens or Glimmerman villages, then I guess we'll tie it into that at some point. But I haven't gotten that yet.
Right? I mean, there's always a case. As we got about 90 seconds to go here before we got to go to break here. I mean, everything can be put in a category. Do you think that we put too much into the Fae category when it comes to some of this?
I think a lot of times it's kind of the nomenclature that people use for little beings that they just don't understand, or some type of phenomena that's just not really understood. It's hard to tell. When you start getting to the whole culture of fairies, fae, dwarves, leprechauns, this and that. Yeah, I mean, they seem to be clumped into one huge category. So I don't know. I really don't know.
It is a weird situation.
Hmm.
That's for sure. And I mean, how else do you put it besides weird?
It's weird.
That's all you really can do, my man. We got you for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return from the bottom of the hour break, we're going to get into a story about a Puckwudgie in Illinois. How weird is this? We're going to learn about Puckwudgies. We're going to read this story that has come into phantomsandmonsters.com. And if you've had any stories that you want, send them to phantomsandmonsters.com. That will be a ticket for you, literally, to have the Lon Strickler, not just Lon Strickler, the Lon Strickler, actually do a report up on what's going on in your weird world. That's just the way it is. And that's what we're going to do next on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
I'm just going to open up the window a little bit here, Lon.
Okay.
getting down to near freezing temperatures overnight here, Lon.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit, it's still in
That
the 80s
time.
here.
All right. Mystics Walk. It's been a while since we've had you here. Welcome. Joe over on LinkedIn. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Who else do we have here? Let's see. Yes, please, as a reminder, put your questions in capital letters. I appreciate that. Mish, how are you? Gary Rusin, thank you for coming on in. My back is killing me. I think I got one of them those like body colds. You know what I'm talking about? Like where everything is sore.
Yeah, I went and had a COVID booster last Wednesday. Now I've had several of them before, but man, I that's the first time I really got ill. I was down for 3 days, man. I was sick as hell. And I'm still feeling the effects of it. I mean, just tiredness and body aches and nausea and everything else. So, yeah.
Well, there's a cold that's going around my town. It starts off with the sniffles that will not stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to a body ache.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at the body ache side.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've been sick physically since I had my surgery. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. I mean, as far as the way I felt. So that's been almost 3 years now. So
we got about a minute to go here, bud.
Okay.
Thank you tonight to Max, Jennifer, and Pam, as well as Luscious Jules renewing her membership on our YouTube channel, and Mystic Journeys becoming a member on our channel as well. Thank you very, very much. Got a couple more questions from the audience as well. We're going to get into a story with the Lon Strickler, legend hunter extraordinaire, Lon Strickler. The beard of knowledge, Lon Strickler. You can hit me at any time, buddy.
You're 3,000 miles away. I can't hit nothing.
We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com. You can put your report there, read other reports of strangeness that's going along anywhere in the world, and you can find any of Lon's books there because he's a damn good writer as well. Lon, welcome back.
My pleasure to be here, Dave.
Hey, before we move on, what has been the reaction from the Phantoms and Monsters people about Flight 21?
Been good. It's been good. I mean, people are interested in it. Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten a couple of responses from it. Some people have their theories, but I think they're kind of stumped about what's going on there for the most part.
Crazy talk in there, man.
Yeah.
Crazy talk. We got to get back out there. I'm going out there tomorrow to pick up the trail cams. So I don't know if I will be going out alone or not. Most likely. We'll check it on out.
Well, keep me updated.
I will be creeped out going there alone if I have to, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm curious to see if we caught anything on the trail cams because it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to get up there. That's for sure. I'm glad on that. All right, let's get into Puckwudgies. Before we get into the story, tell everybody what a Puckwudgie is.
Well, the traditional Puckwudgie is a small humanoid being. A lot of people describe as looking like what a chupacabra would look like, or a gremlin. That's how it's described, size-wise and everything else. And in this story in Illinois, they said it looked like the gremlin from the Gremlin movies. So it's mostly associated with the Bridgewater Triangle area in Massachusetts. It's part of the traditional lore of the native people who had lived there at some point, though I don't think they used that word Puckwudgie. I really don't know where that name came from. But yeah, it's a being, and there are still sightings of these things. So it's a swampy area in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle area, and Bridgewater Triangle area is an area that comprises of a couple of state parks. It's a pretty huge area. There've been a lot of weird things that have gone on there, even Bigfoot sightings and a few other things. But the Puckwudgie is probably the one thing that's well known for the Bridgewater Triangle.
All right, well, let's get to this story here because this is a good one. All right. Summer of 2011. While playing outside, our family dog chased a creature through the yard and into the woods. The humanoid was bipedal, approximately 3 feet tall, gremlin-like in appearance with large ears, ugly, extremely fast, and unlike any known life form. Lon, are you sure this wasn't my former mother-in-law? Just saying. All right. We observed the creature running for about 150 feet until it reached the tree line, giving us a clear, prolonged view. Both my sister and I vividly recall the encounter, which remains unexplained to this day. Discovery of the term Puckwudgie in 2023 while working as a pawnbroker in Ames, Iowa. A regular customer described the creature he had seen using the term Puckwudgie. His description matched exactly what I saw as a child, prompting me to research the folklore and confirm that this is likely what we encountered. You know, she says, he says, I'm an experienced outdoorsman with interest in hunting, fishing, boating, and metal detecting, and am also a former Boy Scout. I have spent thousands of hours observing wildlife and nature, which has given me confidence that we saw what we saw, and it was not any known animal, whether healthy or not. My sister independently corroborates the sighting, and then the area has significant Native American history, including burial grounds and artifacts along the Fox River. Folklore suggests Puckwudgies may act as guardians of burial grounds, which aligns with our location. While traditionally reported on the East Coast, the sightings suggest the Great Lakes region may also host them. This is a singular, vivid, and unexplained encounter. Neither witness has seen anything like it again. The creature's appearance and behavior were beyond bizarre and cannot be explained by conventional biology. I am confident in the veracity of this account, you say. I am willing to answer any follow-up questions, provide any additional details, or even take a lie detector test to see if it's needed to verify my honesty. Now, you said, Lon, after speaking with this person personally, you noted that the North Barrington region has a history of unusual cryptid sightings and unexplained phenomena. This includes reports of winged humanoids that fit into the broader wave of encounters in the Chicagoland area. The possibility that different cryptid forms overlap in these areas makes the report particularly valuable. For J.S. and his sister, the encounter was singular, a vivid brush with the unknown that has never repeated itself. For researchers, a growing body of evidence suggests the Puckwudgie-like beings may not be confined to New England, but could also be found in the Great Lakes. What did the children truly see that day? A guardian spirit of an old burial ground, a flesh and blood type cryptid, or something in between? What do you think, Lon?
I don't know what they saw. I do know when he sent this to me and said North Barrington, a light bulb went off in my head because I had witnesses, and I think the year was 2019. North Barrington is northwest of Chicago. And it's an area where we had a lot of small winged humanoid sightings. Literally, not flying, but these things running across roads and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe this is, even though it's been a few years before that, maybe this was tied into it. So it kind of raised my radar a bit. Hopefully, by me putting this out, we're going to get some other sightings come in. But it did happen in an area where we had quite a few winged humanoid sightings and these small things running across the roads.
You know, in talking to Pat Spain just the other night, it really sounds like the description of an orang pendek, like a North American version of it.
Yeah. It might.
I don't really get it.
I don't know. A lot of this phenomena does seem to cross over in different regions and countries and areas. I don't know. I don't know what they saw. But, I mean, again, is this an interdimensional being coming from another reality? Who knows? Who knows? But I just found it very interesting since I was familiar with the area and some of the sightings we had there as well.
You mentioned the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yeah.
Tell people who may not be familiar with that what it's about.
Well, it's a triangle area. It's an area that's defined with, as being triangular size. It's quite large. It's got, like I said, it's got a couple of state parks in the midst of it. It runs from southern Massachusetts near Fall River north up into Bridgewater and another parts of areas in western Massachusetts. But there's been a lot of activity reported there over the years. And in fact, there was a film made about the Bridgewater Triangle years ago. I did the interview. I forget who the producers were, but if you look for it, I think it's actually up on Prime. But it's an interesting film. There was also a book done about it as well. But there's been a lot of stuff that's going on there. Even alien encounters. It's just been a lot of different phenomena that has happened within that triangle area. So I don't know. You know, it's just one of those spots where a lot of things happen.
Let's get to another short story here on the Puckwudgie, or potential, maybe something different. All right. Emaciated pale-winged humanoid seen in Monson, Massachusetts. While exploring off-road trails in Monson, two friends stumbled upon a skeletal pale-skinned humanoid that unfurled massive wings and launched into the treetops. Was this towering figure a misidentified creature or a chilling glimpse of something otherworldly that hides along New England's back roads? Hi. This encounter took place on August 26, 2025, so just last month.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving around 9:40 p.m. with a friend of mine in my Jeep, which I use for off-roading. We were exploring Palmer and Monson, trying to figure out some trails to check out. At one point, we ended up on a road we thought would lead us to a trail, but it turned out to be a dead end. I pulled into a driveway to turn around and check my phone for map directions. While I was parked, my friend noticed something that initially appeared to be hunched over a tree. When they glanced away to look at me, they caught sight of whatever it was moving and standing up straight. They looked back and saw it moving unusually around. My friend shouted for us to get the hell out of there. Just as I was preparing to put my Jeep in reverse, I looked up and saw it too. That's when I realized it had wings. It flew up into a tree as if it had been startled. It appeared to be about 8 feet tall. A wingspan was at least 6 feet, possibly longer. It had pale, human-like skin and looked very emaciated and skeletal. Oh, my. Nothing creepy about that there, Lon.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like what people are seeing in Chicago, but for the most part, it's a little bit larger and it's pale as opposed to being a dark colored being. Now, they didn't mention anything about any eyes or anything lighting up. But, you know, these winged humanoid sightings happen in a lot of places. I mean, especially in North America, we've had sightings continue on with this phenomena. So, yeah, Massachusetts this time. And I'm looking into this, so I might have more the next time I'm on with you. But I have put feelers out to see if anybody else has seen it. I got a map of the area. So it seems to be a pretty desolate area as well. So we'll see what comes up.
I would agree. I mean, this thing sounds like I was going to say, almost like a Mothman type creature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, the winged humanoids come in all shapes, sizes, and colors and characteristics. And yeah, maybe this is another area where they have seen it at.
Let's get to some audience questions again. Let's go to Erica. I saw this predator effect with a ghost. We asked that. Sorry, I apologize about that. I forgot to erase those. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Do you remember a Phantoms and Monsters blog regarding a tall, lean, bipedal feline humanoid with a Japanese mask face that runs at an incredible speed, faster than a car? The Sasquatch and Dogman, maybe?
It must have been a while back because I don't particularly remember that. Would it happen to have been in Florida? I don't know. That sounded like something that I had heard about in Florida. I've got a couple of bipedal feline humanoid sightings throughout Florida. So maybe it's what you were talking about.
Maybe. All right, let's go to the next question. Let's go to Jules. There are so many commonalities with all aspects of the paranormal. Could they just be different types of beings using the same kind of technology to traverse the veil between worlds?
Oh yeah, they could be coming from the same place. Who knows? You know, there may be different iterations of the same thing. For the most part. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, my theory is that a lot of these beings are interdimensional or from another realm, and that they have the ability to move corporeally from one place to the other. Now, do they look different when they get here or vice versa? I have no idea. But I find it interesting, for the most part, that when people do see these things, that their perception is very similar to others. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't morphing or showing up in a different form when they get here, or maybe they, maybe they all look the same. Who knows?
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go over to Jose here. Is there any evidence where cryptids have used some form of technology, or are they just flesh and blood creatures that happen to have special abilities?
Yeah, I think they have. I think they have paranormal and supernatural aspects to them, for the most part. I think in general it has nothing to do with technology or something that was created by them or created by something. I don't know that, but I'm just saying. I think in their natural state that they have an ability to do things that creatures on our Earth plane don't have.
Well, I think too, if I could add to that, if you don't mind, Lon,
Mhm.
I think that there is it's a combination of both, where they have these special supernatural type abilities, but they're also flesh and blood as well.
Yeah.
I think we try and put them in one category or another in order to try and define what it is, because the flesh and blooders will sit there and say this is, this is just another creature that follows the timeline of evolution, whereas the woo people will say, well, these things seem to be able to pop in and out as we speak, at their own volition. I think it's a combination of both.
It could be. It could very well be. Yeah, and as time has gone on, and this, the folks that believe in the flesh and blood theory as opposed to the supernatural theory, their assumptions and their theories are becoming more and more like each other. There's a lot of people now that absolutely would not say that a Bigfoot, at years ago, that it was anything supernatural about it, but now as time has gone on, there's been no bodies, nothing else has showed up, just the same old thing. Many of them are starting to think a little deeper about it, and are coming to a realization that there's something different about these beings that we just don't understand.
Mm-hmm. I would absolutely agree with you. We got about 5 minutes to go here, Lon. Let's go to Jay. What do you think of these 3-foot tall Puckwudgie Darrow dwarfs who suddenly come out of a granite rock portals and attack hitchhikers? Come on, guys. Let's dial it back on the woo here a little bit. But what do you think about these 3-foot tall Puckwudgies? Are they evil? Are they good? Are they surprise attacking people to maim their faces? Are they wanting to, steal one sock from your foot so that way you have a mismatched pair now?
I've heard a lot of different stories about these type of creatures. Up in the Bridgewater Triangle, they're supposedly malevolent, malevolent, or have evil intentions. And I've heard other stories, in particular around Cooperstown, New York. There's a certain trail up there where people swear that the rocks open up and these things come out. More dwarf-like than like a Puckwudgie, but they're supposedly very benevolent. But other areas have all kinds of different stories or lore that involving little beings. So take it as you wish.
Do you think that, they have control of their atmosphere?
I don't know. Maybe to a degree. Yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't necessarily buy into that.
All right, let's go to another question here. This one from Jose. Are Puckwudgies then the same as the South and Central American Pomberos?
If you're talking about something that's closely related to a duende, no, these are different. These are more gremlin-like things. I don't know what a Pombero is. I don't know which countries you're speaking of, because they got a lot of different names for a lot of different things in Hispanic America. But if it's something similar to a duende, if you're referring to something similar to a duende, I don't think. No, it's something different.
Well, according to this, as a forest dweller, the Pombero is said to be able to imitate the sounds of various forest creatures. Most specifically, it is believed that the Pombero can imitate bird song, especially those of a nocturnal variety, and as such is viewed as something of a protector of the birds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any connection.
I thought we had one there. How does it all tie together, in your opinion?
I don't know. First, you got to determine if it's true or not, if it's just fiction, just lore, or something in between. There might be connections in some of these cases, but I think overall, maybe it's just the same thing in different varieties in different areas. I don't know, but certain areas seem to have a lot of different iterations of these small beings. In North America, Central and South America, they all have different aspects, or different names and monikers and qualities.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if this ever ties together. Lon Strickler, we have you for about another minute or so, according to the clock that seems to be running down in front of me. But I just want to say a big thank you once again for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. Do us a favor, tell everybody where they can find your information.
Just go to phantomsandmonsters.com. It's a new website now. It's rebuilt. You can put the reports directly in there. You can sign up for the upcoming newsletter, which I'm going to be starting soon. There are going to be a few bells and whistles added onto it as well. And I do have Phantoms and Monsters Radio is presented every Friday night at Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube, and you can find it on other platforms as well as Facebook.
Lon, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the show, my man. That's why you're one of the best. I can say that and truly mean it. I love you, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Keep in touch.
Up next, Swamp Dweller. Then the UFO Wizard returns with the UFO report. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay,
Appreciate
Dave.
you. I will let you know what's going on, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Take care.
All right, brother. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Lon Strickler, everybody. phantomsandmonsters.com. I'll be right back. About 2 minutes left. Let's bring in the wizard. What's happening, wizard? Your mic's on mute.
You didn't get to hear me praise you and your great show. I'll say it again. It was a great show tonight, man.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks,
I
buddy.
always like whenever Lon's on. He's just a wealth of information.
Lon's the man. Lon is the man. I'll tell you, when he stepped up when Butch Wachowski passed away a couple of years ago, it was a blessing for us. I mean, Butch was damn good, but Lon just continued the tradition. It was amazing. Contrary One, how you doing? Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. All right, we got about 40 seconds. Thank you tonight to Pam Harris, Jennifer Richardson Elizalde, Mystic Journeys becoming a new member of our YouTube channel. Look at that. Jules renewing her membership. Max, Oob, and Fast Hemi for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. Swamp Dweller is about 3 minutes tonight, my friend. About 3 minutes. So stick with us. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio Store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Make sure you check it on out. Here we go. Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? It is Paisagani. Paisagani is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. When I was younger, somewhere around 20 years old, I'm now 32, I worked in an assisted living home in rural Minnesota. I enjoyed the job, helping the elderly. Once I discovered that I really enjoyed the job, I planned to honestly further my career in nursing. I worked overnights in the assisted living building as it fits well with my college schedule. I was one of the only younger people on the night shift, working alongside people in their mid-30s and up. I learned a lot from these people, heard scary stories of their experiences, and made some friends I still have. One night, though, while working there, I was scheduled on the third floor with about 15 residents. I'd gotten to know most of them and was relatively close to a few. One lady, who we will call Judy, was my absolute favorite. She was a sweetheart, and we would spend hours talking when she would be awake at night, unable to fall asleep. Judy was somewhere in her 80s and in pretty good shape. This particular night, Judy rang me to her room to receive help fixing her TV. After tightening the cables on the back of her TV, we sat and talked for about 20 minutes or so. She told me how she planned to walk to the nearby park in the morning, something she did every morning. She'd walk to the park with a bread bag, sit on the benches beside the water, and feed the geese. After talking, I told her I had to go do my rounds and that I'd see her the next night. We said our goodbyes, and I was leaving her room. She said, "Alicia, you're a good kid." I smiled and went to do my rounds. A few hours later, my coworkers and I decided to go outside and have a smoke somewhere around 4:30 a.m. We sat outside in the cold, 40-degree weather and smoked and chit-chatted. As we sat there, we noticed an older lady walking down the sidewalk away from the building. I thought she looked familiar, and I realized who it was when I saw the bag of bread she was carrying. That's pretty early for Judy, don't you think? My coworker said. I guess so, I replied. We laughed and continued smoking. Then our pages started buzzing and we rushed inside. When we met the coworker who paged us, they had a distinct, sad look. They hugged me for about 30 seconds. The whole time I was confused. This coworker knew my family, so I worried something might have happened. Confused as ever, I followed them to the elevator and up to the 3rd floor. My heart fell as they led me to Judy's room. I heard sirens in the background and knew this wasn't good. To my shock, it was Judy, lying lifeless in her bed. My coworkers and I glanced at each other, astonished. I felt a mixture of sadness and confusion. Haven't we? I swear to God, we had just seen Judy walking toward the park. I knew I wasn't crazy because my coworker saw her too. We never really brought it up again. As scary as it was, I just decided that Judy was probably doing the thing she loved the most that night before she passed, walking to the park to feed the geese.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and you get thousands of stories for free, just like that. It's time for the wizard.
Spaced Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just running, just ready to go.
Big fan of that. Big fan. Josh Rutledge, the UFO wizard. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Were you testing out the summoning this past weekend?
I was. I went out and did just a little bit of so we've got the UAP dog whistle that came out a few weeks or maybe even a couple months ago now. And I started wondering if maybe it's not about playing it for the beings or craft, but maybe it's about playing it for yourself as a mechanism to open your mind or go into a trance or something. So I actually created my own version of the UAP dog whistle that uses the 532 and the 428 to make a binaural beat, and I went out and messed with that a little bit. And I don't think I had any sightings, but I definitely had some really interesting experiences and some just amazing dreams that night as well. So I really think, just kind of like Lon was talking about before, there's a consciousness element to all of this stuff. And I think the more that we really buckle down and explore that consciousness element, that's really when it's going to start opening up our awareness to potentially solving this mystery.
I would agree with you on that, man. There's a lot of weird high strangeness going on out there. And, I also wonder how much is tied to your mind. I mean, Lon was talking about a little bit about, missing time and people having almost like a telepathic communication with things that are going on. It kind of makes you wonder whether we really truly know what is happening.
Yeah, well, the whole I've been really on a kick lately about thinking about reality, and when you realize that your brain, what you actually when you go to take a step when you're walking along and you're taking your steps, your brain is processing your future potential steps. It's evaluating all the things in your field of view, and it's determining what is the best course of action that it needs to make. And all this is happening before you actually lift up your foot to take that next step. So your brain really lives in the future. And then you experience reality almost in the past. So it's just a really is there really even such thing as the present? Or is it really just the future and the past? And then when you think about time in general, the one thing that I've gotten a lot of is time is not linear. that it's all happening simultaneously in some realm. And so, does it matter if it's the future or the past? I'm really going down like a quantum entanglement route. Decisions that you make now, do they somehow affect your past? I don't know. It's all mind blowing stuff. So
It it really is. And that's all part of the mystery of what we try and do and what we
Yeah.
want to solve and what we want to know is the expansion of the mind and the power of it.
yeah, I mean, I really feel like, and I've voiced this before, but I really feel like that you have experiences because it is a mechanism to force you into thinking about your reality differently. That there's not really like I feel like that in trying to solve the mystery, I will eventually get to the point when I realize that the mystery to be solved was that myself and how I interact with reality. That's the ultimate mystery to be solved. That all this other stuff is just a mechanism to lead me on a path to reach that ultimate destination, to understand how I interact with reality.
I love it, buddy. What do you got from the UFO report tonight?
Yeah. So I've got it's a little light, to be perfectly honest. I've got two things. I've got James Lukaski, which if you've read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, he collabed with George Knapp and some others on that book. He is, he's a former U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency scientist. He was a program manager who ran the OSAP program, Advanced Aerospace Weapon Systems Applications Program. And so those Skinwalkers at the Pentagon was, basically them laying out how the 2017 Times article got some of it wrong. And, when the Times article said that the funding was procured for ATIP, it was actually procured for OSAP, and an ATIP came afterwards. So it's a really good book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It really talks about the big database that was created with Bigelow and other people to house all of this information. MUFON at the time actually contributed what they had in the form of their database to go into this big database. I really wish that, other people could get access to it, but I understand Robert Bigelow is probably keeping that pretty close to his chest. But James Lukaski has a new book out. It released 2 days ago, September 27th. And I haven't read all of the book. I've started on it, but I've got some highlights that I found various other people who have read the book. And so I wanted to point those out. But James Lukaski, I think the gist of his new book is really talking about how much consciousness plays into the experience, and how much the paranormal and UFO experiences are linked. So it's going to be a really interesting book. I think as I finish it, but some of the kind of initial information that he's shared, or insights that he's shared, for example, is that the pilots that experienced a lot of the Tic Tac experience, they experienced paranormal effects. Kenneth Arnold apparently had orbs in his home and other paranormal experiences after his 1947 sighting. I was not aware of that. Consciousness, paranormal phenomena, and psychic effects are closely related to UAP and cannot be dismissed. The relationship is unavoidable. That's a quote from the book. He talks about how OSAP was really like the real X-Files, that they had 75 plus contractor personnel doing exotic aerospace research. They had several hundred part-time field investigators, a multi-million-dollar database. That's the database I spoke about just a few minutes ago, stored with contract research data. They had 38 defense intelligence reference documents produced for the DIA. over 100 separate high-quality reports submitted in just over 2 years, and 11 databases delivered to the DIA. So that's all in that, Robert Bigelow database that's talked about in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me just interrupt you here for a quick second.
Yeah.
I don't think we pay enough attention to the role Robert Bigelow has played.
Oh, yeah.
For people who may not know who Robert Bigelow is, explain who he is.
I mean, I would call him an aerospace mogul. He got a huge aerospace company called Bigelow Aerospace, I think is what it's called, or Bigelow Industries. But he was, so a lot of people are probably familiar with Skinwalker Ranch, currently owned by Brandon Fugel, but it used to be owned by Robert Bigelow, and that's who did a lot of the investigation on the ranch before he ultimately sold it to Brandon Fugel, and then Brandon Fugel got involved with the History Channel and they started a TV show. So Robert Bigelow, like you said, I mean, he's got an interest in aerospace, but he also has a firm enough interest in the experiences they had at Skinwalker Ranch to invest a lot of his time and money into the continued research into the topic.
And he also self-funded himself.
Yeah, he's self-funded. I mean, just the Robert Bigelow story, I think, should probably be a documentary. Not even about the UAP topic. I mean, if they want to cover it in the documentary, that'd be great too. But I think it's just a really interesting, and it really is a testament to kind of that American dream of, if you work hard enough and you want it hard enough, you can make it happen.
Here's one of the things about Robert Bigelow that I think needs to happen, because he is a gentleman in his late 70s or maybe even early 80s now. They need to get him to testify. If you're going to be getting serious about congressional hearings, he has to be one of the ones who testifies. His name, which a lot of people won't even realize, is when he was serious about his program, Bigelow Advanced Aerospace Space Systems, otherwise known as BASS. If you had a UFO report as a pilot, whether you were a private pilot or a commercial pilot, it was in the FAA guideline books to report it to BASS. And when you add it up too, for a while there, Bigelow was buying up UFO reporting sites.
Mm-hmm.
He bought up a number of them around the world. And he was paying, I know one person north of me, he paid, I believe, between $100,000 $150,000 for the website.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, he's got a really strong interest in the topic. And I think that he's also one of those people that probably because of his position and his money, that he is open. He doesn't really care that much about bad press having an interest in the topic. But the fact that he, for the last 10, 15 years or so, maybe 20 years, that he is, publicly, that we know about, been involved in the topic. And he still continues to stay, involved, looped in, whatever the phrase is that you want to use. And it still continues to invest his own money into research on the topic. I don't even wonder if Bass was a recipient of any of the exotic materials that may have been retrieved in these crash retrievals that keep getting talked about. And that may be, part of his interest in staying involved. I don't know. It's speculation. I don't have anything to support that, but Given his involvement with AllSap, that program, and working with Harry Reid and all those folks, makes you wonder if maybe he does have any of that material.
I bet you he does, because we talk about how we have so many of these private companies that is hiding or holding on to exotic technologies, allegedly. I think Bigelow, at least at one point, had them. Who knows if he still has them now?
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that needs to be investigated.
Yeah, I mean, to echo what you just said a few minutes ago, I fully agree. And in fact, when we talked about, I think one of the times I was on a few weeks ago, we were talking about who would you want to have on a panel, and you had voiced Bigelow, and I think Bigelow would make a really good panel member. I think the problem we would run into, or maybe Bigelow would run into, is that he is a GC, so a contractor. So he doesn't have the same protections. I think that most of the Whistleblower Act is mainly geared towards government employees. So he wouldn't have the same protections that the Whistleblower Act currently has. So he would have to step on eggshells to try to give answers to questions that doesn't put him or his company in a weird position. But yeah, I think it would be really good to have him as a panelist.
I would agree. With 3 minutes to go, if you could ask Robert Bigelow anything, what would you ask him?
Can I have access to the database you compiled? I mean, I would want, I'm scraping together data as it is, pulling reports where I can get them from around the web, trying to build out my own, trying to build my data set to support my own kind of theories, the things that I'm presenting on at Phoenix MUFON in like 10 days. I would love to have access to the database. Now, the I guess the catch would be, he might say, yeah, you can have access to the database, but you can never talk about it. Yeah. So if that was the case, I don't even know if I would want access if I knew I could never tell anybody about anything that I find there. What about you, Dave?
I would want to see what he had. Show us the toys. Because remember, for a while there, this is, before Brandon, maybe just after Brandon Fugel bought Skinwalker Ranch, Bigelow Aerospace was literally starting to put videos out of orbs and real high strangeness that were happening at their facility. And it was alleged that this was being caused by maybe some secret materials, allegedly, that were stored in the facility.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder too, because how much of it is the material causing the issue versus the awareness of the observer. Our friend Stefan makes a good analogy. He says, if you're going to go, all of a sudden you want to buy a car, right? Let's say you want to buy a Jeep Wrangler. And so because you're looking at Jeep Wranglers online and you're researching them, now everywhere you go, you see Jeep Wranglers. So it's kind of the same thing. If you have opened your awareness to the possibility of orbs or other paranormal type experiences, does that increase your possibility of having those experiences? And maybe it has nothing to do with the technology in your possession, but just your own awareness is open to those possibilities. And so now you see the things that previously were happening anyway, but you just ignored them, or even your mind just shut them out because they were noise in the atmosphere and the environment.
I think there might be something to that, my man. I really do. I mean, look, we know that the phenomena seems to attract to people, and it will continually bring things around if you accept that it's real. Maybe that's the road it is. Maybe it's just a big mind meld that people like you, me, and other people interested in these topics have to go through. We'll find out more on the UFO Report with the Wizard when we return.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Cool. Cuckoo, cuckoo. I'm going camping this coming weekend with some folks at Phoenix MUFON.
Nice.
Like 30 or 40 people. So that'll be a fun time. I'm taking my daughter with me. She's 11. She's never been camping before. So
nice. Good for you. Good for you. That'll be fun.
She's like I said, she's never been camping before. I'm going to take the tent, but I also have a backup of the air mattress that I use in my tent has like cutouts for the wheel well. It actually fit in the back of my Jeep Grand Cherokee. So that's the backup. Is like if she can't do tent camping, I'll just put the mattress in the back of the Jeep and we'll just sleep in there. So
that's all you need.
Yep.
That's all you need. That'll be fun for you guys. She looking forward to it?
She is. She was today. She was like, "Why can't the camping trip be today?" And I was like, "Well, because I have to work, and plus nobody would be there. We would just be up there by ourselves for 4 days." So, which is not a bad thing, But my main concern is that she gets bored easily, and so I'm worried that she's going to get bored just sitting around a campfire, or we're going to go hiking and stuff. But I'm just worried she's going to get bored. So I told her to make sure and like bring a book and some coloring stuff and stuff to draw or whatever. So if she does get bored, she has something to do. So
that'll be good for her.
I told her, I was like, maybe because we're going to be around some pine trees. We're going to maybe find some pine cones and some berries and stuff and like arrange it in such a way and then draw that, maybe it'll give you something to do. So
that's awesome.
My other daughter, though, who's also 11 because I have twins, she is like polar opposite. Her idea of camping is staying at a hotel that doesn't have a hairdryer. So I don't think I'll ever get her out camping. Maybe if I get a camper, she might be able to swing that. But
yeah, a little bit of glamping for her, eh?
Yeah. Same thing with my wife. Like that's the only way I'm going to ever get those two out is a glamper. So
that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own thing, I mean, I can't sleep on the ground anymore. I'm past that age. So
but I can do that feeling.
Yeah, I can do an air mattress on the ground, but that's about it.
I know that feeling, my man. We got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Post show, everybody. I'm going to be logging off a little bit early here right after the show. I am not feeling well. So I'm going to, my body is just so sore right now. Like I'm struggling to sit.
Mm.
And I know I'm tired when I start rubbing my head. I've been rubbing my head all night.
No. Yeah, usually mine is like if I keep taking my glasses off and like rub my eyes, that's how I usually know if I'm like,
I had a real stressful day today.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. About 50 seconds.
Do you ever have a guest host?
The odd time, but they got to be able to do what we do, and the only one that can do that is Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you to Pam, Jennifer, Max, Oob, and Fast Hemi for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love tonight, man. Thank you very much. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. People know ugly swag. Here we go.
Despite what Joe Monk said.
Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Yeah, hey, all of our archives are free, you know. Just check them on out on any major podcast network or on YouTube. The only thing I want to return is hit subscribe. Give us a good review. They're free. Give us a good review. We provide good entertainment. We do. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. The wizard, Josh Rutledge, hanging on out. It is the calm before the storm in the UFO world, Josh. And right now, boy, is it ever calm.
Yeah. I really, it is, it seems like like we have these, ebbs and flows, right, of information flow and stuff that's happening. But it just seems like after the latest UAP hearing, it just dropped off. Like there's no additional, when we had the Jake Barber stuff, when he came out, it was bam, 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 all kinds of his people were involved and they were doing interviews, and it was just a lot of stuff that was happening over the course of a week to 2 weeks. It was nonstop things, and then the next hearing and so on and so forth. But it's we're in a lull, and I don't know if it's just because kind of the state of the world and all the other stuff going on, and nobody wants to talk about it. And there's more pressing things to talk about. I don't know, but yeah, it definitely feels like we're in a valley, and I'm waiting for the next peak. So,
what do you think the next step is going to be? What are you hearing?
I don't know. I mean, everybody keeps, obviously the question that everybody keeps asking is disclosure right around the corner. I think everybody's kind of waiting also to see what happens with 3i Atlas stuff. My next topic, even for the night, was talking about, the new paper that Avi just wrote, relating the 3i Atlas stuff to the wow signal of the 1970s. So I think maybe people are waiting to see what that's going to be. But like I've said before, the whole topic of quote unquote disclosure is kind of ambiguous. We don't really know. We haven't defined what disclosure looks like. And so it's hard to say when we get there, if we don't know what we're expecting, agreeing, even as a community, what disclosure will be. So, I think it's because of it's just the topic is ambiguous. The coverage is hit or miss. And because we're basically, you've heard the 24-hour news cycle, we're basically a 24-minute news cycle these days. And so if it's not huge bombshell stuff where, they invite all the press to a hangar on some Air Force base and pull the tarp off of, the sport model that Lazar talked about, and everybody gets to take pictures and pose for the camera. Unless that happens, I don't think it's going to stick around in the news media that long in order to reach all the non-experienced people or people who aren't actively already in the community. Like everybody who's in this chat tonight on the show, they're not the people to be reached. It's everybody else who just pretty much ignores the topic and just goes on about their daily life. It's how do we reach those people and get them thinking about these possibilities?
See, and that right there is I believe hits the nail on the head. They being the people who are trying to get this out, they don't care about you or I. They don't care about our type of audience, because the majority of our type of audience is already believers. They're already knowers, and maybe they've had their own personal disclosure. They're trying to talk to the other 98 percenters that are out there who either A, don't believe, B, don't want to believe, C, are too afraid to believe, or C or D, pardon me, have their phones buried too far in their faces, okay, to even understand that there is a collision course with a major phenomena that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been saying it, for I guess a few years now, that there's no longer a question of are UFOs real, right? That's been solved. It's why are they here? What are they? If they're a craft, who is piloting them, etc. But I think a lot of the, like you said, the 98%, maybe of that 98%, 80% are still in the group of UFOs are nothing. They're tinfoil hat people, sitting outside or in their closet or whatever. Like they're not even willing to entertain the truth that, I mean, if you want to consider that a partial disclosure, the fact that the government has admitted that UFOs are real, that, not UFOs in the construct of like, alien piloted craft, because if they're alien pilot craft, they can't be UFOs. If we know they're alien pilot crafts, then they're not unknown, therefore they can't be UFOs. But the fact that the government has said 2% of the reports that they've received so far are still unknown. It's a phenomena, or it's something that they do not have an explanation for. That's significant.
I think it is very significant. There's still a big battle going on, though, my friend, on what they're going to do in trying to get this story to people. And the problem is when you try and push a controlled narrative, it's either so blasé that people do not want to hear it, or it's too unbelievable that they don't want to hear it.
But I think there's a different approach. So instead of looking to the media or the government or governments of the world even to be the ones to bring that 80% or 98%, whichever number you want to look at, around, maybe it's all of us. Maybe it's the matter of the fact that the taboo that's been around this topic for so long is finally being lifted to the point where you can talk to your coworkers and you can show them the videos that you have on your phone and the pictures that you have on your phone, or you can link them to books or documentaries, or even the New York Times article from 2017, and then the later one in 2018 where they claim those videos as their own. I think it has to be a grassroots movement. It has to be all of us in the community. Let's say that there are 2 million people in the community. If every single person in the community talked to 3 friends who are not in the community, it would spread like wildfire. And we have to realize that we're finally in a place where it's no longer taboo to talk about this stuff and break out of our shells, come out of our homes, and talk to people around us. It's one of the things that we don't do a lot of anymore, given social media, is just talk to people, but if we did that, and we actually, it's hard to work into a conversation sometimes, but if we just worked it in, or, I had this crazy experience when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. Everybody that I've talked to about my experiences, or the fact that I just investigate UFOs for MUFON, even if I just lead with that, every single person I've talked to in my job, random people that I talk to at the gas station or something, or just standing there pumping gas and they see a sticker on my truck, every single one of them expressed their own experiences or someone close to them who had their own experiences. People are chomping at the bit to talk about it. And we in the community are strategically placed to be able to do so. Sorry, I'm off my soapbox now.
No, I think it's a good soapbox. Keep going, man. You're emotional about it, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I think we need to do. We have, as humans, we have one of our major follies, if you will, as a species, is that we wait for someone else to fix our problems, right? Whether it be, if you're religious and spiritual, you're waiting for, God or Jesus or Buddha or somebody else to come along and fix our problems. If you're new agey, you're waiting for the aliens to do it. But we created our problems and we have to solve them. And so, boiling it down to the UFO topic, we can't wait for the government of the world, the governments of the world, to spread the word that these things are real and they're worth investigating. And that experience that you had when you were 12 that you have never been able to explain up until this point probably happened. And you're not alone. Like, we have to take the reins and we have to do it ourselves.
Haven't we been doing that already, though?
We have, but your show is fantastic. You have some fantastic guests on, but the people who tune in are already in the community. How do you reach new people? And I know that, as a show host, that's probably one of your marketing things that you're always thinking about, right? Is how do I reach new people? But even outside of the show, UFO and related podcasts have grown significantly over the last 5 years. When my friend Stephen and I, when we started our podcast, there were like maybe 5,000 additional podcasts on the topic operating around the world. And now I would say there's probably close to 50,000. At any point in time, there's like 8.1 million podcasts out there. So the podcast space is saturated, but there's more people talking about this topic. But I think the way you reach those people is you go on, you contact your local TV station in October, maybe. You say, hey, are y'all going to do a segment in October, because it's like the spooky season or whatever? Yeah, we're going to talk about, well, I investigate UFOs, or I investigate ghosts or hauntings or poltergeist or Bigfoot or whatever. Would you ever be interested in having me on to talk about some cases that I've investigated? That's how you reach the people who have not considered the topic, who think it's just people in tinfoil hats sitting in their closet. So I don't know. I feel like I'm preaching now. So
no, but that tinfoil hat type of attitude comes from people who are, claiming to be skeptic, claiming to say, where's the proof? I mean, that's the famous line. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Yeah. I mean, you look at politics. Okay. I mean, you have all these names being thrown at political people, and I could go off on this because it really pisses me off, to be blunt.
We got 12 minutes, Dave. I don't want to get you riled up here.
Well, no. I mean, it's the same thing as, you have a lot of people throwing around a lot of keywords, insults these days, when 99% of the people have no idea what a Nazi is. They have no idea what an anti-Semite is, or a fascist, or any of these keywords that are being thrown around like pound cake these days. They have no clue. They have no clue of the history of the words. They have no clue of anything, but they hear their type of group throwing those words around. And I don't care if you're right or left. It's being used on both sides. Okay. The UFO world is the same way. The cryptid world is the same way.
Yeah.
where the people who don't believe or only see this subject through, thick glasses, where they have tunnel vision on them,
Yeah.
they use different types of keywords like that. Maybe not those same ones,
Yeah.
obviously,
Right.
but where's the proof? Where's the evidence? You're a liar. You didn't work where you said you worked. They're doing all this headline grasping instead of full investigation on what we are seeing.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
And I've had it happen to me. I've been on radio shows. I was on a radio show recently where I was talking about pterodactyls. Pretty much got hung up on. Okay, guys, sounds like somebody's had too much Jack Daniels and we're going to break. Right? That's insultive to me.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what we go through as experiencers of this realm.
Right. Well, I mean, because everybody has their bridge too far, right? Everybody has that topic or whatever that either A, they are not comfortable talking about, or B, they think their listeners are not comfortable talking about, and they think they're going to lose listenership by talking about it. But fact of the matter is, people love, I mean, even if you treat it like this, people love a train wreck, right?
Absolutely.
How many people rubberneck when they see a cop has pulled over somebody? They want to see like what's going on. Like, so if you go on a show and you talk about Sasquatch or pterodactyls or disembodied voices that you caught as a part of a ghost hunting thing, people are going to listen. They're going to listen. They might even draw the conclusion that you're crazy, but they're still going to listen to the words that you're saying. And what my argument is that it only takes one or two people to leave that interview thinking maybe. And when they think maybe, it's like something flips up here in their brain. And now all of a sudden the phenomena sees them and it starts sending them their own stuff to wake them up.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach enough people and it will spread like a wildfire.
You hope.
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it over the last 10, 15 years.
There's a lot of dumb and narcissism out there, though, my friend.
Mm-hmm. There is. There's also, unfortunately, there's also a lot of people who could talk to you for hours about UFOs being time-traveling humans from the future, but can't entertain the possibility that they're interdimensional beings. There are too many people in the community who are closed off to consider all possibilities, who can't think that paranormal and UFO sightings could be related.
Well, if you use a good example in the cryptid world, the BFRO, the Bigfoot Research Organization, they put out annual statistics of their sightings and reports and everything. And if you really looked into those reports, they're skewed. They're not true because they've eliminated or edited reports. And this is from firsthand information. They have edited or eliminated firsthand reports because there was woo involved.
Yeah.
Where a person, say, had a Sasquatch encounter and then minutes later there was a UFO flying over.
Yeah.
Or they had a Sasquatch encounter with paranormal activity at the exact same time. And because they're trying to play the fake role of science, not saying that science is fake, but in this case, it is, they're skewing their numbers to benefit what benefits them.
Right. And that's the down, in my opinion, that's the downfall of the phenomena, and everybody who investigates all of it is that they don't consider all data, right? They only consider the data that supports their position.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, they're missing the picture. Like when I first started doing channeling stuff, one of the questions or one of the statements I kept getting back over and over and over again is, you're asking the wrong questions.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we are. We're asking the wrong questions.
Could very well be. Could very well be. And, but it just goes to show, though, that, in today's headline society, in today's social media society, though, you have to really watch what you're seeing and who you're getting and garnering information from.
You do.
So let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Has social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, you name it, has it benefited the UFO, cryptid, and paranormal world? Outside, let me put a caveat on that. Outside of a place-to-place evidence.
I would say no. Well, I don't know. I would say yes, but instead of yes and. So I think it's given a connection point for people who have had experiences to find other people who have had experiences. It's basically, if you think about it in a lot of ways, it's like a massive, support group online for experiencers of all the aspects of the phenomenon to meet up and share their experiences and receive the ultimate support of you are not alone. So in that way, I think it's benefited the people who were in the community. But do I think it's benefited the spread of information to the quote unquote uninitiated for the purposes of initiating them? Not to the greatest extent that I would hope so. I think it's probably reached some people, but I don't think it's reached as many people as I would have hoped it would have. I think the only way the uninitiated become the initiated is by having their own experiences.
I think that is the realest answer of it all. 15 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
OurMysticJourneys.com. OurMysticJourneys.com. Everything is linked there. You can email me. I'll do readings for you, tarot, psychic, intuitive, all that kind of stuff. Podcast, everything.
That's why we call him the Wizard, everybody, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Oh. Good show, Joshua.
I'm muted again. Yep. So
Appreciate you, buddy.
yeah, man. Hope you feel better. I'll send you some Reiki before I go to bed.
Oh, God. Right in the back of my shoulder blades, dude.
Okay.
I appreciate that. That'll help.
Yep.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. Talk to y'all later.
All right, guys. I am absolutely sore here, so I'm going to call it the night. Big thank you to Pam, Jennifer, Max, Joe, Fast Hemi, and Mystic Journeys, and Jules for renewing their membership. I'm really sore, guys. Like I said, I had a tough day. I've got that big stress ball in between the shoulder blades right now. So anybody wants to have that, take it from me, you're more than welcome to have it. More than welcome. Tomorrow night on the show, Steve Rother is going to join us. The Group of Nine and Multidimensionalities. That'll be our topic. It's going to be good tomorrow night, I promise you. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Thank you for the love. Talk to you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.